guys, welcome back to ErikaBuilds and another Sims 4 speed build. Today we are in the world of Granite Falls working on a very large mountain family home. This house is being built on a 50 by 50 lot, and it is based off of a photo that I found on Instagram. Unfortunately, this time I did not have any blueprints or floor plans to use for like the inside or really like looking at the whole house from, every vantage point. I only had two pictures. This first one that I'm showing you now, which is of the front of the house. This picture I found on realtor.com, and this house is located in Crested, Butte, Colorado, which if you're not familiar, that is a very famous area for skiing. And obviously, as you probably saw in the picture, there are lots of mountains there. And so it's definitely going to be similar to some of the other mountain type builds that I've done. If you liked those, I had a Colorado house and another Oregon house that I had done a few months ago. So this one is a little bit similar. The only difference is, I would say, as far as the overall theme of this house, it's a little bit more of a country rustic design because it has these big porches and definitely more of like a rustic sort of farmhouse look to it. I would say it's a mixture of like a rustic mountain home and a like kind of a modern farmhouse look. But I really was attracted to the picture. I just thought it looked like a really neat house to try to build in The Sims. Somebody asked me recently, what do I look for when I'm choosing a house to build? And I think at this point, I'm looking for structure and shape that I know is easy to replicate, within the parameters of the Sims building world. And so that definitely is something that I always look for first. Although I do have a folder of house pictures for the future, if we ever get more building tools for like rounded rooms and just certain elements that we don't really have right now. I do have pictures saved up in case I could ever build those in the future. But anyway, I'm showing you another picture now of the back side of the house. So you can see it's carrying the same kind of theme as the front with the big porch and has a lot of windows. I really liked how it had these very grand sort of two-story windows in the living room, which I thought was really nice for this particular lot with the, you might have seen in the background there is a huge waterfall. So it's a very, very beautiful view from the back of this house. So I thought, that really fit the theme of the lot. And speaking of the lot, this obviously is a rental property because it's being built in Granite Falls. Unless you're using some kind of special mods in your game, you cannot move your Sims to Granite Falls on a permanent basis. They can only go there to take vacations. And so if you want to use this house there, it would be considered rental property. But this house can be put on any lot. There are other 50 by 50. I'm pretty sure there's a 50 by 50 in Willow Creek, and I think there's one in Brindleton Bay. I can't remember. I should have looked that up. But yeah, I know there are definitely some other 50 by 50 lots. Or you could probably even put this on like a 64 by 64. You would just have a lot of extra yard that you would probably have to do some additions to kind of fill up the extra space. But yeah, so this front part of the house that I'm working on now is I'm using windows and doors from Seasons, except for there on the end, those that I was kind of fooling around with were from Strangerville, but I ended up changing them later because they didn't really match. but I was trying to replicate that sort of like large arched window that was on the far side of the house. But in Seasons, we don't really have anything with any kind of like arched window top. So I had to kind of get creative with that and come up with something that would kind of match. And then the wallpapers are a mixture of a bunch of different kinds of wallpaper. So there are Seasons wallpapers in the stone and also in the stone and siding. And then the wood wallpaper is from Eco Lifestyle, and then the one that you're seeing there on the right. And then the left side of the house is also done with a wood wallpaper, but it is from Outdoor Retreat. And actually, I used quite a bit of stuff from Outdoor Retreat because, you know, building in Granite Falls, it kind of seems very fitting to use items from that pack. And here I was kind of playing around with some different ideas for the garages. I started out with a 2-car garage, but I decided to switch it to a 3-car garage because it just matched like the reference photo better. And you guys know I'm always trying to, you know, replicate as close as I can. And so when I can copy something in the design, it just makes it look, as you know, more realistic, like more close to the original. So for those garage doors, I was doing a mixture of 3 different types of wallpaper from Get Together. So basically, if you just go into the wallpaper sort for Get Together, you'll notice that there's all these different like types with the wooden slats. Like some are up and down, some are diagonal. And so just mixing those together kind of gave this effect of making the garage doors look like they had that sort of cross pattern, like in the original house. But you'll see more of that here in a second. Now I'm just kind of adding some columns to the front porch. I started out with these sort of like lighter brown windows that you're seeing now, but I'm going to change those in a minute to the darker brown. They were just getting kind of lost, and I wanted them to stand out a little bit more. One thing that kind of is difficult about building in Granite Falls is that I cannot build in live mode. So that means I don't have the ability to, you know, have my sim there and go back and forth between build mode and live mode, which is really something that I kind of depend on because I use that for adjusting things like the weather or the lighting or the time of day. And I can't really do any of that when I'm in this when I'm stuck in one of these vacation worlds. So that makes it just a little bit more difficult to get the good lighting. I ended up switching it to evening mode here, which helped a little bit because I was having a hard time seeing the front of the house, the way the shadows were like falling on the front. It was making it really hard to sort of match up all the different browns. And I had this combination of these darker browns and lighter browns, and I just wanted to make sure that it all was like vibing the right way that I wanted it to be. And so I had to kind of play around with that a little bit. But yeah, so that wood that you're seeing on the second floor, that is the same. That is also from Eco Lifestyles. I really like that wallpaper. It's probably my favorite one that we got in the new pack, just because it has a very rustic look to it, which is really good for me because I love to build a lot of rustic homes. Here you see where I've changed that garage to a 3-car garage. It just made a lot more sense. As far as like the spacing of the doors, it just fit better this way. As you can tell, everything's nice and even now. So that looks much better. And then that other little window that you're seeing between the garage and the front door, that's kind of like a long strip of windows. Ideally, that is not really what I would have chosen because it's a little bit too modern. But, you know, in The Sims, we don't have the ability to stack windows on top of each other. So in order to replicate the effect of having the stacked windows, I had to go with that sort of long strip of windows. And I think it was fine. It was a little bit on the modern side, but I think it turned out okay. Here now I'm just working on the back a little bit, kind of piecing together the roof. It's always difficult when you deal with a house that has a turn, where the house either sometimes the whole entire house will turn. This was a little bit easier just because it was one kind of room that was turned at an angle. But it's always kind of interesting to see how you're going to fix the roof so that it will all kind of blend together. And then here I was working on those 2-story living room windows that I was telling you about earlier. I had a hard time with these, and then I ended up finding these windows that you're seeing now that are from Discover University, which I don't think I've ever used them before, and I kind of didn't even really know that we had them. But they're a little bit smaller than I would have wanted, but the nice thing is they had that exact arched shape at the top like the original house, which turned out really nice, I think, as far as like making it look as much like the original as I could. So hopefully you think that looks okay. And then I just had to use some columns here to kind of make it look like a big grand sort of 2-story feature. And those columns, you know, now we can pull them up to like whatever height we want. So that's really handy when doing stuff like this where you need a little bit more creativity with your column placement. Yeah, so here in the back, the 2nd-story bedroom windows that you kind of see me working on there now are similar to the front in the way they kind of like bay out from the house. And so I was kind of just trying to make them look similar to the ones around the front, but I was having a little bit of trouble here, you can see, with the proportions, and I kept changing it over and over to try to figure out why it didn't look right. So it took me a minute to get those kind of situated. That's another thing that's kind of hard about recreating a house when you don't have any floor plans or blueprints or anything, is you can't really get like that bird's eye view down from the top to see exactly, you know, what the shape is of the room. So now you kind of just have to look at the picture and think, that looks like it kind of sticks out, but I don't really know how much it sticks out or how I'm going to do it. So it's kind of just a lot of guesswork and trying to figure out how to make it look as, you know, close as possible. And so for this back porch, it's just kind of long and narrow across most of the back. And then I ended up going back later and taking some of those very large, round but like porch pieces, the ones that have the rounded edge, and adding like a very large patio, which I think turned out really nice because the back porch itself is a little bit small. So by adding that extra patio, it gave me room for a fire pit with some nice chairs and the grill, and there's a hot tub back there. So yeah, you'll see that more towards the end of the video. Speaking of the video, I am using my new sound equipment. As I mentioned in my last video, I was waiting to receive it, and it finally came, and I got it all set up. And so hopefully this voiceover sounds okay. It's a little bit strange because I'm not used to having anything like in front of my face. And so I have this kind of like big filter thing like kind of obstructing my vision a little bit. So it's going to take some getting used to as I'm watching the video play back here and trying to comment on what I'm seeing. Yeah, so here on the back of this angled room, there is another porch, which I decided not to put any stairs there. So I just, instead of a porch, I guess it's more just a deck area. And then here I'm just adding a back door. I went with the glass sliding doors just because I feel like it was the easiest way to come in and out around that sort of like interesting turn of the walls. Here I was just kind of playing around with some different ideas with this back and trying to figure out like how far I wanted this roof to extend. Like I said before, it's kind of just working little by little and changing things as I go, since I didn't really have a concrete idea of what I was doing when I started. Okay, so then I took a little bit of a time skip here. This is when I stopped recording so that I could do the screenshots for Instagram. If you aren't following me over there, my user name is ErikaBuilds. And so you can see photos of like work in progress pictures. I usually always try to remember to take a picture sort of in the middle of the building process so you guys can see what I'm working on. And I think it was about 4 days ago that I posted this this work in progress picture. So that's how long it's taken me to actually finish the house. Of course, I've had a lot of interruptions. It's not like I can just, build 24 hours a day, but probably a few more interruptions this week than normal, so it made it take a little bit longer of time to get all the interior done. But this house is so huge. It has a massive interior. So yeah, it took a long time. I think the first floor interior took me an entire day of just working on and off, throughout the day with a million interruptions. And then the next day, I tackled the second floor interior, and then I still had to finish the yard. And so, yeah, it was a long project. But, I kind of like it better this way. When I do shorter builds, like small houses or apartments, it's kind of just like a little quick fix, you sit down, you maybe build for a couple of hours and then it's over. But when you can do a house that's really huge like this, it becomes like a, more of a long-term project, 3 or 4 days you can spend going back over it. And I notice a lot of times when I take my time doing that I end up having a lot more decor, a lot more plants, and things that maybe I wouldn't have had if I was rushing through it more. So I think in the end, even though you guys have to wait a longer time for me to have it up in the gallery, you're going to get more bang for your buck because there's going to be a lot more detail and decor and stuff in the long run. So here is the living room. I fast forwarded a little bit because I had started with jungle adventure furniture in here to match the kitchen, but then I just felt like it was getting a little bit too dark and rustic, and I kind of wanted just to liven it up a little bit. So I switched it to seasons and then a few other pieces. This console table is from Eco Lifestyle, as well as the bookcase that I used behind it. And then the coffee table, I think, is from Cats and Dogs. So it's kind of a mixture of different packs, but I really liked how the blue sort of livened up this room, because one thing I have to be careful about when I build rustic homes or mountain homes is that I get really invested in the dark brown. And then when I start looking back at the interior from a distance, it just starts looking way too dark. And then I think, oh, I need more, color. It's just too dark. And so then it kind of gives me a chance to go back in and think of ways that I can add more color to the build, whether it be changing the furniture or even sometimes just a few extra plants or extra decor will kind of help break up the color. Same thing kind of happened here in this dining room. It was getting darker and darker and darker, but I didn't really mind it as much in here because I kind of like a darker dining room. I feel like it looks a little more formal and kind of elegant, I guess, to have all this sort of dark wood. And so I think it turned out okay. And then here in the kitchen, I just pretty much went with all my regular kitchen type decor, keeping it pretty much family friendly and rustic with lots of browns. And it's a good sized kitchen. It's set up, with this bar dividing the kitchen area from the living room area, which is really nice. So you can either use the bar for eating or you can use the formal dining room if you need to. There is a coffee pot in here, dishwasher, kind of all the regular stuff that you would expect to see. And then you can kind of get a look here to the left of how the entryway works. Like as you first come in the front door of the house, there's a very large entryway that has 2 arches. One arch that takes you straight into the living room, and then a second arch that's slightly to the left that takes you into the kitchen. So it kind of gives two different entry points. And then there's also a set of double glass doors that take you to the office. And then the stairs are at the very far end. So it's a large entryway with like 4 different ways that you can go when you come into the house. But I think that's kind of nice because when I'm doing floor plans, especially in a house like this where I have absolutely nothing to go from and I have to just, make it all up on my own, I like to make sure that there's many different traffic patterns. I've mentioned this to you guys before, but like I like to give the Sims a lot of different traffic patterns so it's not all like you have to come in through this one way and it's like a dead end, when you create sort of like loops and circles through the house where there's like multiple different ways to get to different places, I just think it flows really nicely and it makes everything just feel a lot more open, and you don't end up with a lot of like just dead end areas where there's like only one way in and one way out. So yeah, I definitely think about that. It's a conscious choice on my part to try to make it like that. Here in between sort of like the kitchen and dining room and the garage is the laundry room. I did not record myself working on the garage because it took a really, really long time. Mainly because I use a lot of stuff from the debug catalog, and you guys know how that is. The debug catalog is huge, right? There's like thousands of things in there. So it always takes me forever to do a garage. So I just didn't even bother recording it because I knew I wasn't going to be able to fit the footage into this video. But you can see it more when you download it. It's a 3-car garage, so there are 3 cars in there, and then there's a whole bunch of other garage type stuff. There's like a planting table, a flower arranging table, a woodworking table. There's like a bunch of like just garage junk and boxes and storage. I try to make my garages, look pretty realistic as to what you would expect to find in an actual garage. Trash cans and like a door that goes to the side entrance to the house. So yeah, so now we're back on the other side of the house working on that office I was telling you about. So when you first come in the front door, on your immediate right, there's a set of glass doors that take you into this office. I really wanted to achieve this look of like an entire built-in wall of bookcases, just because I felt like with a big old house like this, it just made sense to me that they would have this sort of like huge built-in wall. So I used those bookcases are from, I think, oh my gosh, are those from Discover University or Strangerville? I can't remember. Realm of Magic, maybe? No, Discover University, I think. I don't know. Don't quote me. Might be Discover University. But they're the really tall ones, which only work if you're doing that medium wall height. So I knew those would fit nicely right up against, from floor to ceiling. And then the rest of this office is all just kind of your typical office stuff, computer, desk. There's some like filing cabinets. There's an easel in here and a globe. And I don't know, just kind of like office-y stuff. I tried like 3 or 4 different rugs in here before I finally ended up finding one. I put this one in and then totally forgot that this was the same one that I had already used in the dining room. And so I had to take it out, and eventually I found one that worked. But yeah, it's always a process to try to find enough rugs without, using the same ones over and over. I'm really hoping that the next time we get an expansion pack, it might be that one they kind of teased about last year about the ski lodge and how Sims might be able to like ski and snowboard. I think I've mentioned this to you guys like a million times, but I want that pack so bad because we need more rustic stuff, more rustic furniture and wallpapers. So yeah, I'm always hoping that we will get more soon. Okay, so I had a poll on Instagram last week, a few days ago, you might have noticed, where I asked you guys to choose, if you had the extra space in a house, would you rather have a second master bedroom to use for like grandparents or something, or like an indoor pool, and gym. And overwhelmingly, I think at the end, it was about 80% of you wanted the indoor gym. So that is what I went with. This area would have also been nice for a master bedroom, but I already had a master bedroom, and so I didn't really need a second one. I mean, unless you were using this for like a generations family where you were definitely going to have like, grandparents and parents both. And since I've done that several times, I don't know, I thought it might be kind of fun just to do this indoor gym and pool area. And so the pool, it's kind of small, but really it's pretty good sized for being an indoor pool. And it has some, like workout equipment. And then here we are now on the second floor. As you can see, I did another little skip because it took me a while to work on this art wall that I used in the landing. And so I just cut that out because it was a lot of footage of me just choosing a million different pictures and trying to get them all arranged into like one wall design. But you can see the finished product there on the right. And then here I'm just cluttering up one of these new bookcases that we got with Eco Lifestyle. I've said before, I love this pack so much because it has so many great bookcases and shelves that we really, really needed. So yeah, I took advantage of using a lot of those in this house. And now we are finally on to the first bedroom at the 26-minute mark. I think you guys are starting to get a feeling of how long it took me to work on this house because there were so many like hallways and pass-through rooms and all these little nooks and crannies in this house that I had to decorate. It took forever. It's like, how many different hallway tables can you use? How many different floor plants on the floor and mirrors and stuff to try to, do the same thing, but try to keep it creative and a little bit different. So yeah, it takes a while. And so finally now we're working on this bedroom for the toddler. I ended up putting a closet in here mainly just because I had this extra little 2-square area from the bump out of the living room windows that I didn't really have anything to do with. And so there is a closet. And for the colors in here, I wanted to kind of keep with the same dark brown theme that matches the rest of the house and all the windows and doors. So this toddler bed, if you haven't seen it before, is from Eco Lifestyle, and it is so adorable. Every swatch has a different like little blanket and pillow inside. It's just so cute. Like the details I really appreciate that went into making those all kind of have their own original feeling to them. And so yeah, everything else in here is pretty standard: toddler, tablet, building blocks, bookshelf, toy box. And then we skipped over the bathroom there. Wasn't too exciting to see to this next bedroom, which is has a Jack and Jill bath in between. So these two kids will share that bathroom. And again, I'm sticking with some dark brown wood tones, but trying to lighten it up. I really like this Eco Lifestyle bedroom set with the dark brown and white. I've used it in, I think, probably like my last 3 builds just because I like it so much. And I don't know, I think it's nice. It's really cute, and it has like a lot of nice details on it with all the little pegs. And so I thought this would be a room for kind of like a younger child. So definitely, I tried to think of youthful decor. So there's stuffed animals, toy box and stuff, but they still have a desk and a computer. So it's like, school aged child, kind of in between the stage of a little kid and a big kid. So yeah, so this, let's see, the desk area, that desk is from Discovery University, and there's a laptop and just some clutter and things. I gave this child a violin and some music from the little what is it called? Lindsay, I think, system so they can play some music while they do their homework. There are a total of 4 bedrooms in this house. And so I did, one for each age stage of life, I guess. I did the toddler and then the child, and then the next bedroom is like the teen/young adult. So I always like to kind of give you the option to have, all the different life stages represented, so you can have different, I think that's pretty common, right? That most of us, when we play with our Sims families, we usually have our kids spaced apart where we have, the different life stages. So yeah, before we go on to this last couple of bedrooms, I want to just take a short time out to tell you guys some news. First of all, I just passed 15,000 on Instagram this week, which was a huge milestone. I'm so appreciative. I had to definitely say thank you for that. If you aren't following me on Instagram, definitely go and check it out. It definitely seems to be where I'm having the most success at getting my builds seen by people, which if you're a builder, which I know a lot of you guys like to build, it's very difficult because there's so many great builders. It's very difficult to kind of get your builds to be seen by someone. And so passing that kind of big milestone was really great. And then in the gallery, I am almost to 5,000 followers, which is great. That has been very slow going. I think I had, maybe about 500 followers when I first started sharing my builds on Instagram. So that was about 3 years ago. So it's definitely taken a long time to build up that following in the gallery, but I'm appreciative for everyone who has done that. And then here on the channel, as of today, we are 30 subscribers away from 1,500. So that's great. Again, it's been very slow going. As you guys know, my channel's been around for over a year now. And the growth has been steady, but very slow, which is fine because, like I said before, there's a million great builders out there, and it's very difficult to compete in such a full market. I get messages on Instagram all the time in DM saying, how do you get people to subscribe to you on YouTube? And I honestly really don't know. I always share on Instagram and Twitter. I think that's about as much as I can do, and just kind of hope that word of mouth will spread around through social media. And other than that, just keep uploading. And you kind of, it's one of those things where you have to really be doing it for yourself. Like if I was only doing these speed builds because I was hoping to make money doing this, I would have quit a long time ago, because I don't even know how many you would have to have, tens of thousands of subscribers to consider this anything even close to a job. So really, you just have to treat it like a hobby, and you have to be really laid back about it, I think, and just kind of take it as it comes. At least for me, that's how I've found is the best way to do it. If I start trying to compare myself to other people, like, why do they get more views than me? What am I doing wrong? Which, believe me, I have those moments. But for the most part, I think the best thing to do is just build whatever you like and do it for yourself. Do whatever makes you happy. And I think if you're happy, people will appreciate it and people will watch and they will enjoy it. And so I hope you guys know that I'm very happy doing this. It is definitely one of my favorite hobbies and one of my favorite video games. And so I'm always really excited to share with you guys the stuff that I build. As much as it is fun just to build for myself and move my own Sims, into the houses that I make, it's even more rewarding, you know, when you guys can take one of my houses and use it in your game. That's the reason I'm doing this, because I want everybody to be able to enjoy the houses and use them if they can. So yeah, here I have talked over this entire room, but I love this bedroom so much. I feel like this would have been my room when I was a teenager. I would have loved this. And so I love the bright colors, the purple and orange, you know, the sunset painting in the background. I just think that room turned out so pretty. Like I said before, a teen or a young adult, either one, I think, would feel right at home in that very bright and beautiful room. And then here for the last bedroom is the master bedroom. And this bedroom has an interesting feature. I really wanted to take advantage of the fact that there was this gorgeous view out the back of the waterfall. But of course, the bedroom being too far away, I was like, oh, it's too bad, you know, they can't see it. And then I was like, wait a minute. I know a way. And so I took this open window from Jungle Adventure. It doesn't have any glass. It's just like an open pass through that has these wooden shutters. And I put that over the bed in between the bedroom and that 2-story living room. And I kind of envisioned it like they can have the shutters open when they want to let in the natural light and they want to be able to look out and see the waterfall because it's gorgeous. Or they can close the shutters, you know, for privacy or to block out the sun and stuff. So it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. But yeah, I hadn't done anything like that before. I don't know. It just kind of like popped into my head. And so I thought I'd give it a shot. So you guys can let me know if you think that looks like a cool idea or not. But yeah, this bedroom is very much a country design. This entire bedroom set is from Cats and Dogs, and I just felt like the parent or parents who live in this house, you know, they chose to live in Granite Falls because they're outdoorsy people. They love the countryside, and so that was definitely what I was thinking of when I was designing that room. And so yeah, this is going to be about it for this build. I'm just working a little bit now on the driveway. I decided to go with a gravel driveway because it just made the most sense to me for Granite Falls. But let me know what you guys think of this build. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you have requests of other types of builds you'd like to see in the future, be sure to leave those in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys all again next time with another Sims 4 speed build. Bye-bye for now.